Hey everyone, welcome back to another video with me, Andy. Hope you're all doing well. So, I haven't done a video again for a while, but shifts change at work. I've not been off during the day, and I just thought, well, yeah, I just need to get them done, and I want to get them done for everyone. So everyone's in the house, because I used to do it on my days off, but things change, jobs change, and yeah, let's just crack on. Anyway, many of you have seen this shrimp on my social medias, but I thought I'll do it for everyone. I don't really have a name for it really. It's just a lighter version of the kind of infected shrimps with a few different materials, but we'll get on with it. So, the hook on this one, this is a trout line, this is E320BL in a number 12, and before we start, we're going to lay down, this is some adhesive lead foil, this is a Vineyard, and we're going to start at the back, and we'll just wind this forward. I'm going to put 2 layers of this lead on, just help it cut through the water, because obviously you'll be using the Euro nymphing, Czech nymphing, whatever you want to call it. We'll be nymphing with this, so I want it to cut down quick enough. So there's our first layer. The next layer, just start like a wrap or a wrap and a half up from where you started before, and then wrap your lead. Quite often it helps just having your finger there just to stop it from spinning, and then just stop short of where you finished the last time. And that creates like a nice little taper. If I can actually get that to rip. And that'll do us. Now the thread we're going to be using, I'm actually going to be using, this is the Textreme, this is a black in 8/0. And we're just going to start this, actually I'm just going to shorten the length of this, I've got quite a lot of thread sticking out the front. So we're just going to start this thread at the eye, hold it onto your tag end. It doesn't matter if a little bit of lead comes up. We'll cover that in a second. I'm now going to trim off my excess and just continue working the thread down to the very base, and then what I'll do is I'll wrap it back up. Now this little bit of lead that's come up here, just kind of pinch it round with your fingers, maybe use your nail just to pinch it on there, and just come over the top of it with your thread. And there you go, nice and secured in there, no problems. Just putting a very thin base layer of thread on. This is just to secure the body in place so nothing's going to spin or move out of place as we're tying the fly, or when you're fishing the fly obviously, because that's one of the important things too. So shellback is going to be this material, and this is actually the Sci-Bi Magic Pearl strips, and it's kind of like a greeny browny, and this is actually the dark olive. It's like a greeny, browny, pearly, it's quite a nice material. And what we're going to do, we'll start off by just tying this on the back and just catching it in with a few turns. Now, I've got a length of the Textreme fluorescent orange floss here. I've already cut it off. I'm going to tie this in as well. So just tie that in, pull it back, just so you're not wasting as much. And I did have some wire already pulled off, but I'll have to use another piece. The wire we're using, this is a UTC in olive, and it's a small, as you can see, SM, and we'll just pull off a length of this as well, and then we'll just tie that in too. Now just pull your material slightly towards you, and then come in and then push down with your finger, just so you get the shell back exactly where you want it on the shank of the hook, which is right over the back. Then wind your thread down until it falls off your lead underbody. Then just wind your thread back up, secure everything in place, then you can take your thread. What we'll do, we'll just leave a bit of a gap, just like 4 or 5 millimeters there. Just trying to adjust this light. It's dark in this room, but I want the light to hit on this nicely so everybody can see it. I think you can all see that nicely. Hope so anyway. Yeah, I think you can all see that nicely. So, the dubbing on this fly, we're going to be using this, which is the Troutline Super Spike Dubbing, and it's just colour natural, and it's quite like a nice light dubbing, but it's really spiky, so it's really good for the shrimps. And so there it is out of the packet. It's nice and spiky, and this is what we want. So now I'm just going to dub some of this onto my thread. I'm actually going to leave a gap here, and you'll see why in a minute. So just keep dubbing this on. I've got like probably haven't got enough to do the whole fly on here, but I've got enough to get me started. So I'm just going to shorten the length of my bobbin, and I'm just going to, oops it is, it's because my camera's in the way so I can't exactly get exactly where I want. So I'm just going to wind this. As you can see, the excess thread there goes down, and then just at the base you can then start your dubbing. So just wind this up the body. There we go, so there's pretty even turns there. Just going to grab a little pinch more dubbing just to finish off this head section. You can also change the colour if you want here. You can change like a darker dubbing if you really want. You know, sometimes that dark dubbing can work wonders. So now just start where you left off. A little bit too thick there, so I'm just going to go back. There's nothing wrong with actually going back and fixing something if it's wrong. And then for security, grab your whip finish tool and just do a one turn whip finish, and that'll secure your thread just so your thread doesn't slip while we're doing the next steps. So now you want your floss, so start at the back, just do a turn around the very back, and then we're just going to wind the floss up the body of the fly in even turns, and then tie off at the head. As you noticed, I actually wound it the different way, like towards, away from me rather than towards me. This is so when I wrap the wires go in the opposite way, so then it secures the floss in. So I've only got 2 turns over that, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim it off. Keep your thread, make sure you don't loosen your thread, just keep a nice tight thread, and then just do another couple of turns whip finish, and that secures your floss in place. Now grab your shell back and just lay it over the top, get the tension you want, and then what I do is I pinch it and fold it over the eye, shorten the length of my bobbin, and then I just come over the top and then tighten down, and then I can just do 2 or 3 turns or 4, whatever you want, secure that in place, and I'll just come in with a sharp pair of scissors and trim off any excess. And now, as with previous, just come in with your whip finish tool and just do another couple of turns whip finish. The beauty with this 8/0 thread, it's nice and thin, so you can get away with doing a few more turns than you probably normally would. And now I'm just making sure this shell back's sat where I want it. And now with your wire, now actually wind towards yourself. So start at the very base. Slightly tighter turns at the back, and then as you come up you can space your turns out slightly and until you get to your eye. Now come over the top with your thread, do a couple of turns, and then keep your thread tight and then bend the wire back. So you can see I've bent the wire back, and now we can just run our thread over everything. If there's any stragglers, just lock them in there with the thread. And now all we need to do is grab our whip finish tool, and I'll do a 6 turn whip finish, and that'll secure that head nicely. Then come in with your scissors, trim off your excess, give your wire a nice wiggle, and that'll snap everything off. Now I find with the shell back it kind of splays very slightly. As you can see, it's got kind of like folds, but what I do is I kind of position it with my hands. And any of these kind of splays I just try and flatten with my fingers as I'm working over the fly. Just to be fair, the fish don't care, but it's just one of those personal things for myself. If you watch my videos long enough, you realise I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to a lot of things. So next step, grab your dubbing brush, whichever one you've got, and then we're just going to work underneath the fly. And just pull some of these nice spiky dubbing fibres out. work them down on my fingers. There we go, we've got some nice spiky dubbing fibres out there. This is what we want, you know, create a little bit of movement and perhaps simulate a little bit of legs or something on there. And it's okay if you pull a little bit of the orange off the floss as well. You know, the fish, you know, really like orange, you know, especially grayling. So last step, if I can find it. There we go. Last step, well, not exactly the last step, but one of the last steps is Gulf Thinman resin. And what we're going to do, make sure there's no like dubbing or anything on the top of the fly where the shell is. I can see a tiny weeny little bit of fluff just there, which I'm going to try and trim just so it doesn't affect the fly. Actually, I've missed a step. What I always do, I've got a pro marker, black pro marker, and I always like to darken the heads on mine, just running over the back, and in that way just give that literally a couple of seconds to dry. It'll dry very quickly, and then we can grab our resin. I can't really see that well just because of the angle. I'm trying to get you guys to see as well, so I'm just basically running this over the top, just basically creating like a nice smooth kind of shell like surface. I'm sorry if you miss any of these angles, I just need to turn it to make sure I've got it positioned correctly, and there we go. So there's your resin on the back. We'll come in with the, I actually use the Gulf Hero torch. I love this torch. I'm just going to come in and we'll set this. As you can see, some of the, if I shine that on, you can see some of the orange. I think you can anyway. So you can't really see it on the camera, I don't think. I can't see it on the camera. Well, maybe you guys can, but we'll come over the top and we'll set this resin over the back. So as you can see, there's the resin set nicely on the back there. It looks really good. And the very last step, which I always do on all of my resin flies, is I always add a layer of varnish. You know, when you're using resin, you know, sometimes you might miss a slight little hole in there, and I don't want anything getting under the resin, so I use the varnish to lock in everything. And you know, I've never had one of these flies fall apart ever. Never had it, the shell come off, the resin come off the back of it, and I think it's a testament to how you finish your flies. So now we'll let this dry, and that is the fly fully finished. You know, give this one a go. Superb fly. You know, looks lovely back on it, lovely legs, and obviously that orange rib all the way through. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.